Welcome to Epilogue Podcast, the show where we discuss some stuff that happened on a different show ages ago which nobody really cares about anymore.
Hi, I'm Portponky.
And I'm LeBloc.
Today, we are discussing Deep Space Nine, Season 7, Episode 14, Chimera. A wandering changeling finds Odo and stirs up difficult feelings about his place in the galaxy.
What did you think of this one?
I generally like this episode. I have a few grievances with it. Not with the episode, but maybe with the changelings and their attitudes. But I generally liked it. How did you feel about it?
I love this episode. And because we're so close to the end now, I feel comfortable even saying this is one of my favorites.
It's one that certainly covers a lot of ground. Episodes earlier in the show were a lot more hesitant to give away so much information, but here Laz is spilling the beans on a ton of stuff that shapeshifters can do.
It's weird that a changeling in isolation was so advanced in his abilities.
He was a lot older than Odo, though.
Oh, right.
I think he said 2 centuries.
Something like that. And he made it clear how he didn't like humanoids, so he likely went out of his way to shapeshift all the time in practice, which Odo doesn't.
He's hitting the gym every night, and as a result, he's totally ripped. The fact that changelings can exist as gases and other forms of energy, I guess, like fire, is kind of surprising.
And really scary.
And a little bit kind of strange, because if they can exist as a gas, then why would they ever be caught?
They wouldn't.
Yeah.
Unless they chose to be caught.
But they have caught quite a few of them in the past.
No one said changelings are smart. Well, maybe someone said it, but
They
there
are.
could be changelings.
I guess.
Or there could be stupid changelings.
What if only Lass knows this? What if the rest of the founders don't know they can do this?
Yeah, maybe it's one of those mental blocks where they assume it's not possible, so no one does it. It's like the 4-minute mile. Everyone thought it was humanly impossible, and then someone did it, and then a bunch of people broke it.
That would explain why they've managed to catch pretty much every changeling infiltrator they've actually noticed.
They're all in the dark. They don't know they can be gases.
The other pretty cool thing he turned into was a warp-capable spacefaring creature.
With parts that moved.
Yes, so you can swim through the space.
I know that's silly, but I like seeing it. It looked cool. And we're so used to static ships, and they're slowly moving on screen. And here we get to see some flaps that wouldn't have real purpose, but I enjoy seeing it.
Well, aerodynamics makes no sense in space, but we don't know how warp is supposed to work, nor how that creature was able to travel at warp. So there could be a reason for them.
Let's go with that. It's for warp capabilities.
I always give Star Trek a pass for having overly aerodynamic looking spaceships, because they actually don't in a lot of cases. The Enterprise is kind of clunky looking, and especially the Borg cube is just a giant cube, which it makes sense for space. A sphere or a cube would be a really solid structure.
Yeah, why not? I want to know about these grievances of yours.
Well, I don't know if grievances is the right word. we've known for a long time that the founders are a bunch of jerks.
Yes.
And here we have Lass turning up as an outsider like Odo. And he kind of comes across in a few different ways, but after thinking about it, I kind of decided he's just a jerk like they are.
It's in his goopy DNA to be a jerk.
I think it is. I think all the changelings are just genetically racist.
But it makes sense. They're all part of a whole. They're not like other species.
Like-mindedness does make sense in general. People tend to think the same way, so it makes sense if aliens who think in a different way also have the same kind of like-mindedness.
Odo's the weird one. He should be more of a jerk.
That's his failing? He's too nice?
Yeah.
He isn't even that nice, though.
By changeling standards, he is.
He's changeling Gandhi.
Yeah.
How did Lass come across to you? What was your analysis of that character?
Prejudice? Deeply wounded?
You think?
I think he got burned by some humanoid woman and he's taking it out on the world.
That's the same line all the founders use. Oh, the solids, or oh, I liked how he said monoforms in this. He had his own set of terminology. The solids are always so angry at us. We have to avoid them. They're so annoyed all the time, and they're so racist.
Even when they accept you, they don't really accept you.
It reminds me of the saying, if you smell poop all day, check your shoes. They have this really holier than thou attitude to absolutely everything.
He can change into anything, so he sees himself as above everyone else.
He has powers that a lot of the life forms on Star Trek can't do, but there's also a lot of life forms that can do things that he can't. There's telepathic creatures, ones with electrical shooting powers. They probably could do that, actually. Hyper intelligent guys, but even then, there's also life forms that are far elevated from the changelings. The obvious example is the Q continuum. Somehow the founders are more conceited than the Q, even though the Q can do everything the changelings can do and everything else they can't do.
People with an exaggerated self-worth, such as we see with the changelings, don't have anything that warrants it. That's just how they feel. You can provide evidence for how other life forms are greater than changelings, but that's not going to change his mind or the hive mind.
I know you've only seen Q in that one episode that was no good.
Yeah.
But I would really like Q to meet the changelings.
I could see that being interesting and having him knock them off their high horse.
If they get into an arrogance competition with him, he will win.
Yeah, and that's where that will lead because they think they're so great.
Sadly, we just have to listen to him spout off a load of Captain Planet rubbish whilst still not even showing the most basic empathy for other living creatures.
Why show anything for life forms that are done in by a simple stabbing?
Well, he was going on about how he turned into a beaver, and he was a beaver for several years. I know it wasn't a beaver, but let's just say beaver.
Okay.
And then all the beavers died, and he was sad. And he spouted that load of rubbish about how all animals and in nature, know how to live within their environment. I wish someone had called them out on that and said that's a load of absolute rubbish. All creatures exploit their environment to the maximum they can. In fact, intelligent life tends to be the only ones that are aware of the long-term consequences of their actions, even if they don't act well based on them.
So you're annoyed that Laz wasn't good at being a jerk.
He was good at being a jerk.
Oh, okay.
He spouted a lot of opinionated stuff about environmentalism that didn't really make a lot of sense, and then turns around and stabs a helpless guy for no particular reason.
He didn't like his fog act.
That fog act was rude. He should have been taken in for vagrancy or something. If someone fell asleep or urinated on the promenade, Odo would have them in a cell. And the excuse, oh, dude, I'm just being the way I am, would have done nothing.
It was really funny to me when he wanted to link with Odo on the promenade.
Yeah, that's another thing. That's completely ambiguous how personal that is. So maybe it's fine. I don't know. I don't know the social context for that.
It's up to the viewer, from what we've been shown and told, what linking really means, but I've interpreted it as partly sexual and highly intimate. So when he did that, it was as if he was asking for a sexual favor right out in public.
The fact that they always get O faces when they link doesn't really help. He annoys me. I do like the episode, but he does annoy me. He pleads, hey, I was just being fogged because that's who I am. How dare you judge me for it? And then a Klingon gets angry and he stabs him for being violent. What? This Klingon's just being a Klingon. What did you expect, Laz? Are you that stupid?
You're not supposed to like him.
Massive hypocrite. She just murdered a Klingon for acting the way the Klingons act.
I think he would argue that was the natural end result of that interaction. That Klingon was supposed to die because Klingons do attack, and he's a changeling who is above everyone else. He would see no wrongdoing. He would say, this is how it should be.
Well, he pleaded self-defense, which is ridiculous. I'm not sure if the Klingon could even harm him with a disruptor. And he definitely could restrain the Klingon, even if he did reach for his disruptor. Laz shapeshifted very, very quickly compared to Odo.
Yeah, he's a pro.
I think he might be a pro. The other founders don't shift that fast. I think Laz is like super parkour shapeshifter.
He's the ultimate shapeshifter.
He is really good at it.
Oh, that reminds me. One reason I really like this episode is how they worked in the budget constraints into the canon. So we know Odo, we can guess Odo doesn't shapeshift a whole lot because of budget reasons. It's just too expensive to do all the time. But then they worked it into his character, into his story. Oh, he wants to fit in. He doesn't want to stand out. And I thought that was a great idea, how they worked within that limitation.
When was the last time you changed form? And I'm sitting there trying to remember what he last did. It must have been quite a few episodes ago. If
the last time we had money. But it was a clever way to sweep that under the rug.
It all fits together nicely, yeah. If I were wrongly arrested for a crime, I would definitely want to be held in a Federation prison.
Why is that?
Have we ever seen anyone not escape from one of those?
I'm struggling here.
They hold prisoners like a sieve holds water.
Why are there no cameras? Why
Yeah.
don't they have records of who was in there at the time when it was unlocked. There's so many faults in the system.
Kira's fingerprints would be on the button. Basic detective work could figure out what happened, assuming that they have absolutely no reconnaissance of any kind.
Just check the guest list. All right, who was the last one in here? Okay, Kira.
When Odo said, "I would like time with the prisoner alone," and the guard actually said no, I was surprised. And then, of course, Kira does it later on, and he says, "Yeah, sure, no problem. You're not even in Starfleet, but, I'll just go outside and close my eyes, cover my ears."
And forget this ever happened.
The fact that there's just one guy as well is pretty bad. But if he falls asleep, then anyone could come in there.
Budget cuts. They blew their budget on all that furniture for Odo's room that he never uses.
I imagine he got all that from IKEA, but he couldn't understand the instructions. It's supposed to be a bench and a light fitting and stuff.
I was slightly grossed out when Laz immediately knew that the furniture hadn't been used in a long time. I thought, do they leave some kind of residue? That's kind of gross.
It could be dusty, but if dust even exists on the space station, which I hope it doesn't, because that would really mess things up. Weirdly, I do kind of like Laz. I mean, he's a jerk and he annoyed me, but as a character on screen, he was quite watchable.
I'm ashamed how long it took me to realize that's Martok.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up towards the end of the podcast, but you spotted it. I didn't notice the first time I watched this episode. He's credited under a slightly different name.
What?
Yeah, when he's Martok, he's J.G. Hertzler, but here he was Garmin Hertzler.
Were they trying to hide it?
I think, yeah, he was just trying to make it not show up in the cast list at the start. Well, it shows up, but it doesn't catch your eye.
Right away, I thought he had really strong screen presence, but then I figured it out after he and Odo linked, which doesn't make any sense. There was nothing to give it away there, but suddenly it clicked right there. And then I kept hearing it in his voice in certain phrases. You can't entirely escape that Martok gravel.
The casting for Lass was complicated. They wanted someone who was quite a strong actor to go up against Odo, who's Rene Auberjonois is, I think, one of the most talented people on the show.
I agree with that.
So they didn't find anyone they liked, so they looked into the pool of regulars. First up was Jeffrey Combs, but he already was Brunt and Wayoon, so they thought that's probably enough of him. Then they were gonna choose Andrew Robinson, Garrick, but they didn't choose him because they thought everyone would recognize his voice immediately. And that's probably true. So it went to Hertzler instead. A good choice, I think.
Did the script change at all after he was cast in the role? Because they talk about Martok a lot, and I thought, is that them just winking at us? Or did Martok have a role in this episode and then they had to write around that?
I imagine the former. I know the script did change from the first draft, which was something about Sisko had to admit to Odo that all humanoids are racist.
That sounds about right.
What? I don't think Sisko would do that. Sisko appeared in this episode twice, and both times he was really annoyed.
That's his default state now.
he does seem like the dad of the station. I mean, he is a dad, but he seems like everyone's dad. He's just really busy with work, and then people turn up and say, "Oh, the changeling stabbed the guy for no real reason," and he's just so annoyed.
He's like, go ask your mother.
That's the problem, there's no mom. Or is Kira the mom? But Martok is the mom.
Yes, Martok.
The latter half of this episode certainly was strong on the Odo-Kira love plot.
They made me care about that plot when usually I don't.
Yeah, I agree. I liked it here too. I'm not that big on Odo and Kira as a couple. It was good when Odo was pining and being a wreck of a person. But since they got together, they've kind of been lovey-dovey snugglers, and I don't think they would be. But here they were more matter of fact, and the last scene with Kira dancing in the sort of energy Aurora Borealis sort of energy effect thing that Odo turned into.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty cool. Pretty emotional.
I thought so too. It was a nice conclusion to that plot thread. I actually thought that Odo might leave her and go off and make his own great link with this guy.
It's tempting, isn't it?
Well, he's always talked about how he has this pull to the link, how he's drawn to other changelings. And here's this prime opportunity. He gets to be separate from the founders. He gets to be with others like him, which he's always talked about, how he's wanted that. And this was the perfect opportunity. Plus, it's the last season. If you're going to have a send-off for a character, this is the easiest time to do it. And it would have made all the sense for Odo.
There was a lot here that worked well, knowing that the end is not that far away. Also, that Aurora Borealis effect scene was an incredibly complex combination of 4 different shots.
What?
It was really complicated at the time to do that sort of thing. It was a CG effect on top of the footage of Kira. Go back and watch it again. It's really good. It's a good shot. It stands up today, I think.
Yeah, there's nothing about it that screams, oh, this is dated and horrible, and I want to avert my eyes.
Yeah, and it was done in early 1999 or late 1998.
They kept it subtle, which helps that stuff age.
Do you have a quote from the show that you'd like to share with us, Monoforms?
They tolerate you, Odo, because you emulate them. What higher flattery is there? I, who can be anything, choose to be like you. But even when you make yourself in their image, they know you're not truly one of them.
It's a wonderful piece of propaganda.
It is, and I want to argue against it.
I do too. I think certainly Starfleet guys try a lot harder to be tolerant of life wherever it may exist in whatever form.
He argues that what Odo appears to be does not reflect what he really is, but it does. That's a choice that Odo makes. He chooses to be that form. So that is an extension of him. It's not just a mask. Even if you wear a mask, you chose that mask.
That mask is your style.
It's not divorced from you.
Yeah, you become mask guy.
And we all wear masks.
I know you're talking about metaphorical masks there, but I was imagining that you had some previously unstated mask obsession.
You mean you don't wear masks all the time?
Oh, no. Yeah, of course I do, yes. Cupboard's full of them.
I wear 2 or 3 in case one breaks down.
One falls off.
Yeah.
We should stop talking rubbish about this episode and start talking rubbish about the next one.
I like your proposal, Monoform.
Hold on, what was it? Monoform and what was he? A metamorph?
Multiform? No.
Surely, wait. Yeah, he said metamorph. Why is he not multiform?
It's too close to Monoform. It disgusted him to refer to himself that way.
For goodness sake, Lars.
Make the Great Link great again.
Oh, God. Surprised he called it the Great Link and not like the large chain or something.
The Lesser Link. Not so great Link, am I right?
Oh. Right, that's enough of that.
Yeah.